What's up, YouTube? It's your girl Dee Dee. Welcome back to the channel. So I'm back with another reaction video. Now, this video comes from the No Fugazi podcast. In this particular clip, they're talking about whether women should prioritize their careers over family. And I want to play a little bit from it and give my 2 cents on it. And I definitely want y'all to chime in and let me know what you think. Do you think for women, career should be a priority, or should family be the priority for most women? I want to know your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Comment, like, subscribe, hit that bell, you guys, to be notified when I upload new content, and hype up the video as well. All right, so let's go ahead and get into what they're saying. Here we go.
What advice would you give modern women? A, prioritize family. B, prioritize education. Good question. Let's start with
Bree, right here.
You want to do this? Let's start with Bree. All right. So, yeah. So, question: what advice would you give women in today's age, modern women? It's just 2 scenarios. Would you tell them to prioritize family or prioritize education?
Family.
All right. Tara, what about you?
Education.
All right, and why?
Did you ask her why?
Yeah, let us all answer first.
Because I go against the norm, I gotta answer why? Like,
Yeah, that's exactly.
Okay, let everybody answer and then come back.
like,
All right,
for
we'll
real?
come back to you.
Right?
What about you?
Oh, wait, what was it?
Oh,
Family.
Okay, family.
Family.
I love
Family.
my family.
Family.
Yeah, you're the only one. Why?
Why?
Why education, Tara?
Want to know?
Because just because I don't have kids doesn't mean I don't want them. But first, I'm gonna educate myself first on any type of topic. Like, I'm gonna put myself first, because for me to be the best self, I'm not gonna put a kid in a position where I'm not educated enough, I'm not able to provide, I can't do whatever to provide for the kid. Our society just labels women as, okay, you stay home, you do this, you do that, you do this for the men. Like, that's your duty, that's your job. But no, we're positioned, we're growing as a society to not be like that. Women need to stick up for themselves. They need to educate themselves on all types of things. Yeah, we can have kids, we can still have family, but educate yourself first. Like, go for an education first.
Yeah, and and that's the sentiment for most women. Most women think in that way and they take that approach, but it's the very thing that they end up complaining about. A lot of women who prioritize their careers first, they end up still wanting a man who's going to have to come in and take care of them fully. So it's kind of a contradiction to say, oh, stick up for yourselves, put yourselves first, do something that will educate yourself. And I'm not against education, but I'm saying there's a way to go about it where you can have the best of both worlds. And I think that is not what's pushed in society. And I think a lot of women follow that, but they end up still being in a position to still want a man, and then he has to provide solely for, the entire family. And so it makes you wonder, okay, what was the education and putting yourself first for you to end up still wanting to be in a position of having a traditional man to take care of you? It doesn't make any sense. I would understand it more if we had a group of women who are saying, listen, I'm educated, I make good money, I can take care of myself, but I still want a man, I still want a family. But when that man comes into the situation, I have something that I can bring to the table. Like, I can offer something where we can grow and build together. But this is not majority of what we're seeing. We're seeing a lot of women saying they want a man to come in and take care of them and create a soft girl life for them and create a life that they've never had, give them this fairy tale lifestyle that they've always wanted. And they believe that if they have been taking care of themselves, then you should be able to come in and be able to take care of them even better. And so I think to me, it doesn't make any sense for women who say they want to prioritize their education and put themselves first and build themselves up to offer something to a kid, not understanding too that if you wait till you're in your late 30s, 40s, a kid may not even be an option. And then a husband might not even be an option. And because as women, we have a biological clock, it makes sense to, in my opinion, to prioritize the family first, because that's the most pressing one, and the one that you have a clock behind or on. So if you can marry, build your family, and then you can always go back to school, get an education, follow your dreams, and do things as well, because your children don't stay little forever. But I think for a lot of women, they've bought into this idea that, oh, as a woman, you don't have a lot of time, and you don't, but not in the way that they think. But they're thinking in their careers, they have to strike while the iron is hot. Like when they're younger, they understand or believe that that's the time to forge ahead for their education and go after the education while they're young and attractive, but they don't see it when it's when we refer it or turn it to the biological clock, that yes, that's your most fertile years. Even doctors will tell you in your 20s is the best time to have babies. They don't look at that. They kind of look at that in a negative way, as if that kind of ties them down and they can't really do what they want to do, but they go out after the careers. And then when you get the career and you're successful and you made the money, and then it's not really all that you thought it was going to be, and you're still kind of falling short in some ways. You're not making all that amount of money that you thought you were going to make, and you still need help. You still need companionship. You still need a man to be supportive and there for you. This is why a lot of women have a difficult time finding that, because they prioritize the wrong things first, in my opinion. Let's continue.
Provide for yourself first. Like, why do you have to depend on a man?
Do you think that with the mindset that you currently have, that's the reason why you're single with no kids?
No.
How isn't it? You prioritize your career, your education.
I also had other life situations that put me in a position to not prioritize that first. I put others before me, before I put myself first.
Do you know that women don't have to work? Generally speaking, if you, I mean, nowadays, it does take two incomes for a household. But what I'm saying is, you really don't need to chase a career in education, because if you're chasing education, you're incurring debt. So you're putting yourself in financial debt. Generally speaking, most women do. That's just what happens, right?
Yeah, because
but if you
didn't educated enough to look for other areas of where they don't have to pay for things.
Well, a lot of women are educated, but that education doesn't always equate to a lot of money. And then the spending habits of a lot of women still put them in a deficit. So this is why you have some women, not all women, but some women who are still looking for help because they need the help financially. A degree does not solidify financial stability for a lot of these women, because they're not budgeting their money correctly. They're not investing correctly. They're not doing the right things. And then they still need help from somebody. And typically they're looking for it from a man, and they're working hard and they're struggling still, even with these degrees. And you still end up wanting that very same thing that you avoided early on, but now it comes with a bigger price. Now the man has to really be Superman to really come in and give you the world, because you don't want to share your resources. You think he needs to come in and do it all. And this is where they fall short. So now you got the education, but it's not really giving what you thought it would give. You still got to work 10 times harder just to stay afloat and pay all your bills. And you can't get a man to come in who wants to be with you. And then on top of that, some of these women already have created children. And so that makes it even harder for you to get what you want from a man, as opposed to you prioritizing a man earlier in your life, in your prime, and creating your family. And then you can go and do some other things as well, and still work together with a partner, with a spouse, with a person, as opposed to you struggling doing it all by yourself. See, it's like a lot of women are very selfish. You want to do what you want to do when you want to do it, and you want men to just stand by and whenever you're ready for them, you think you can just usher them on in, and then you make the decisions and you call the shots, and they're just supposed to acquiesce to you. And you got to understand, no, men want something too. So you just can't, it's not going to happen if the men don't want it to happen. And I think that's the shift that we're seeing in today's society, for sure. Let's continue.
Of course, you can definitely get some. You can definitely get some scholarships, but she's saying that she doesn't have debt, so that's good. That's good for you. But simply saying, if you are going to advise modern women not to prioritize family and to prioritize education, what's going to happen is this:
to have a family.
But in vitro and all of that, that's very expensive, and it's not that, it's not that what's the word? It tends to be very problematic. But here's my question for you, though, right? Quick question.
Yeah.
If it's the case that women are, from your worldview, is to prioritize their education and not family, under a society like that, how can you maintain your current population level? Because what would happen is, if they're prioritizing their education first, then they're waiting to have children in their later years, which then it decreases the amount of children that they can have. This is why currently in today, in modernity, right? We are below replacement level for our population. It's supposed to be 2.7 babies per woman, but currently we're at 1.6 babies per woman, which is why we got the border still open and we letting in immigrants, right? Even though Trump is trying to get a hold of things.
I'm not going to go on that type of level because that's way too political, and that this is not a platform for relationships and dating to be in that type of political scene.
No, I was just making a statement. You don't have to reply back on.
I'm not going any further on this.
I'm simply saying this, though. I'm simply saying that if you are going to, because the question was, what would you advise women to do? You said that you would advise them to prioritize your education, which means that they're going to have if they are going to have children, it's going to be in their later years.
There's also
so then they can't. No, listen. So then they can't have enough children.
Allow for women to have more successful.
Right. What science?
Hold on.
There is fertility.
Okay. Do you know that those clinics are very expensive, and also do you know that the likelihood of it happening is extremely low? It's very problematic.
Look. I think the biggest misconception is that ladies like Tara, you can still have kids first and then go to school later. Like, for example, if you had a kid at 20, what age do kids go to elementary school? What, 6?
5, 6, yes. Yeah.
So like you have 8 hours to yourself to pursue online school. Hold on, stop.
When you're older, you have all that time to do that.
You have so much time on your hands to continue and pursue your education. For example, like I said before, if you had a kid at 20, kids start school at 5. You have 8 hours of your day to yourself 5 days a week to take online courses to pursue that psychology.
When we're the ones that are also supposed to be taking care of the family, we're supposed to be the one. This society wants.
Let me finish.
No, that's if you're a single mom.
Yeah.
If you pick the right man,
listen,
and you have a man by your side, it's 2 people raising the children.
In an ideal situation, if you're married or in a relationship with a guy that you're still together with, you guys have a kid at age of 20, 5 years later, they're in school, your husband or boyfriend is at work, you're at home. That is your
Exactly, that's where society
That is your all the kids are at school. You are at home by yourself. You have 8 hours to yourself to do whatever you want. So that means you got 8 hours to go to school, take online classes, or go school in person and take 1 or 2 classes at community college to pursue that psychology degree, nursing degree, whatever. So just because a woman prioritizes family first does not mean she cannot go to school afterwards, especially if she has kids early on. It's best to have kids, ideally, early on, because for one, it's safer. The kids will come out way more healthier. You'll be able to have way more children. So once you do that, then you'll be able to pursue school because at the age of 5, kids are already in school. Now, if you were to have kids later on, yes, there are a lot of women who have had kids in their later ages.
And what he's saying is absolutely the truth. I'm a walking testament of that. And there are many other women who have done it that way. And that is usually the typical way you go about it for women who want families. If you want families, then there's a way to go about it where you can have the best of both worlds. And I talked about this before, but a lot of women are conditioned to not want to do it that way because the feminist mindset is, oh, you don't need a man. So the whole point is, hey, you don't need a man. So go and take care of yourself. So you're going to focus. Of course, you're going to focus on your career first because you're not thinking about a man and a family. You're not looking to depend on the man because you can do it yourself and you don't need a man. So this is why the career thing is pushed first and why women take that route. Because even growing up, that's what they tell us. Don't depend on a man. Go out and get it yourself. You know, you don't need a man to be for your kids. If you have a child, you don't need a man to take. You don't need to depend on a man. Go get it yourself. And so this is why it's that way, because that is the way most women go about it. But what happens is eventually when they have gone out there, dependent on themselves, not a man, and they focus on their careers and they get the career, you get some money, you take care of yourself like you were told. But eventually that wears out. You get tired of doing it. I've seen so many women who are frustrated with working. They don't want to work. They want a man to take care of them. A lot of women would love to be at home and not have to go out and work every single day. They would love to be at the house and maybe take care of some kids, because now some of them are realizing that it's not as bad as it was made out to be. But when you have women who have been conditioned to believe that, oh, you don't need marriage, you don't need a man, you don't need none of that. Go out in the workforce, take care of yourself, not understanding the things that are associated with that they're not going to really like. You got to understand that, hey, when you go out here to work and you prioritize your career and you make money, that could all change. You know, a lot of women have lost their jobs. That was something that a lot of women didn't anticipate because they thought that their jobs were foolproof, like certain government jobs that would not go away, and they didn't have to worry about that. But now you have to deal with the things that men have been dealing with the whole time. That it's unstable markets, that these people could all of a sudden decide, hey, we don't need you anymore. Certain things, technology, and could change. Now we have AI that could affect the workforce. And we see so many women who are out of work, and it's all happening, and they were not prepared for it. So I'm just saying, so now you have a bunch of women who don't need a man, didn't prioritize a family. You're out here by yourself and you're struggling. And a lot of women would love to have a companion now who could pick up the other, part of the load. Somebody there that you could share in all of this with. But see, this is not something that they understood. The majority of women who were married younger, created families, and are still married in a household with their husbands and their children are not really struggling as much in some cases with the economy shifts. Why? Because you have two people. Even if you were a single mother, not a single mother, but you were a stay-at-home wife, and you were at home with the kids, like such as myself. And if you do have a degree, which I do as well, it could come in handy. There are things that you could do. You could pick up the slack. You could take a job. You could do something to contribute, and y'all could, and vice versa. So it's like, to me, that's where the degree and the career thing will come in handy if you're using it to benefit your family as a whole. If you're looking at your husband as a person, a helpmate, and you guys work together, as opposed to you looking inward and selfishly about only what you want and your needs and not thinking about the entire family. Because once again, what's the point of a woman being successful and getting these degrees if you don't want to contribute, if you don't want to use it for a bigger picture? It's all a selfish nature until they need the help. When the women need the help, even after you've accomplished these degrees and all these things, when you fall short and you need the help, now guess what? You see women out here looking for men once again. Now on the aftermath of everything, now you want a man to come in and take care of you. Now you want a traditional man to come in and take care of you and the kids that you've created along the way for some of these women. Now, and you want him to come in full speed ahead, taking on all of the bills, everything that you got going on. But what happened to your independent? You don't need a man mindset, that you want to focus on career and get to the bag. But then when that falls short, now you're looking around for a man. Why not do that in the first place? And this is why I say a lot of this mentality and this thinking backfires on a lot of these women. And this is what we're seeing now in 2026. There are thriving, healthy, happy Black couples who have amazing families living well because they chose to prioritize their families first. A lot of these women are educated as well. That's what I'm saying. You could still be educated and still prioritize your family first. Other groups of women do it all the time. But for some reason, when it comes to the Black community, it's one or the other. But later on, you looking for that very same thing that you prolong. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't make sense to me. But listen, I want to know your thoughts. Chime in the comments below. Comment, like, subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell to be notified when I upload new content, y'all. Make sure you hype the video up. Hit that hype button, y'all, to hype it up. Leave your thoughts. I want to know what you think it is. Which one should you prioritize? Should you prioritize career, work, or should you prioritize family and marriage and kids first? I want to know what you think. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know your thoughts. I got to shout out the ladies as well, because I got women who follow me. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. So make sure y'all leave your thoughts in the comments below, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.